Hi, this is a video on how to start reading again for people who used to really like reading, but because of life haven't really read for a long time, sometimes a couple of years. I had this problem as well, and I've just found a couple of tips that really helped me, so I'm just sharing them with you. Um, my first tip is when you first start getting back into reading, just pick something simple. Pick something really easy to read, that's not very complex. It doesn't use complex language. Even a kid's book, even something like Harry Potter, just to get back into the habit of it. At the moment, I'm reading 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Um, it's got a bit of old language in it, so I wouldn't do that first. But it's pretty short and it's pretty good. And my other tip would be just to pick something that's small and short, so that you have some satisfaction when you finish reading it. Don't go straight into something like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or something like that. That's going to take you forever to finish, and you're going to feel like you're never getting anywhere. Um, my other tip would be, like I said earlier, pick something that's easy to read. Um, Something like Michael Crichton, Sphere, Jurassic Park. He has a whole bunch of other books, Andromeda Strain, Congo. They're pretty easy to read, and he pretty much just assumes that you're stupid. Like, seriously, he just has a character in the book that it just doesn't know what's going on, and everyone has to spell it out for them. So if you have no idea what the subject is, if you have no idea about deep sea travel or about mathematics or science or any of those sort of things, there's always a completely clueless character who everyone has to explain everything to in really simple terms, and he doesn't use a lot of big words, I guess is the best way I can put it. So it's really easy to read. Now, um, yeah, my other tip would be reading time and reading places. I mean, the reason why we don't read is because we don't have the time to do it. So my first tip would be to have a book on your bedside table next to your bed, and every single night before you go to bed, just read one page. If you don't feel like reading, if you're so exhausted from work, if you had a fight with your partner, if you had a baby and you're completely exhausted, like me, just read one page before you go to bed. And then before long, you'll start feeling like reading before you go to bed, and you'll read a chapter. Um, and then other days, after reading a chapter every night of a week, you'll feel exhausted again and you won't want to read. So just read one page, and you'll get through the books. Um, if you're catching a train to work, or if you're going by public transport somewhere, just keep a different book in your bag. I mean, we watch different shows every night of the week, so it's easy enough to keep track of two stories at the same time. So have one book in your bedside table, have one book in your backpack, and just read a little bit. Instead of going on Facebook, just read, a couple of pages, as many as possible on that trip. Even if you don't feel like reading, just read one page. Yeah, that's all you need to do. If the book is too tricky, like if you've gone and tried to read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and they're talking about, alright, well, that page is pretty easy, but if they're talking about old talk and old nomenclature and you just can't get into it, just go and grab one of these. Go get Interview with a Vampire, first person talk, or this is pretty easy. Or if you've just seen Lord of the Rings and you really want to get into it, just start with The Hobbit. Start with The Hobbit, because there's far less crap about what the Fire looked like, and what his face in the mirror reminded him of, and it gets straight back into it. It gets straight into it. There's no there's a bit of slow build up, but there's not as much as in Lord of the Rings. Anyway, I'm waffling on now, but yeah, those are my tips for the moment. And don't be afraid to read kids books when you're starting out. Like, don't be afraid to read kid books that are intended for teenagers, like Harry Potter, which is actually surprisingly well written and surprisingly easy to get into. The other tip I have, if you drive a lot, is to get into audiobooks. It's not the same as reading, but you actually get through it. If you want to get into something for the story, like if you want to get through the Game of Thrones books, it's pretty much the only way you can do it with no time. I mean, unless you're a very fast reader, um, it's very demotivating to read something that big. So just get the audio files, put them on your phone or get them on a CD, And every time you drive somewhere, play the book instead of listening to the radio. You know, if you drive to and from work, or if you drive, even if you just drive little short trips, you'll be surprised how much you drive in a week. I'm already through 1.5 books in a couple of weeks. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and those are some tips on how to get back into reading if you haven't done it for a while. Thanks. These are some suggestions that I have here. Okay, Interview with the Vampire. Sphere, Jurassic Park, and Prey. I don't own those 2 books, but I've read them and they're very good. They're very easy. Picture of Dorian Gray, The Hobbit, Triffids. Okay. No, you will not read this book. Read this book when you're getting back into it. But, you know, this is awesome and I really suggest that you read it, but no. Anthem. Anything by Douglas Adams. The Time Machine. Awesome. Look, see?